to talk about our topic today, I invited Sanjib. He used to be depressed at one point in his life. He felt very unhappy, very unfulfilled, and he was sinking into this unhappiness. But he was able to find a way out. And today, we're going to talk with him about this and milk him for all his amazing insights. So, make sure that you keep listening if you want to know the best way, hands down, to fight your urges to do PMO. Sanjib, welcome to the show. Can you tell me that story? Because it was transformational, I loved it, and I want to know more.
So from 2013 to 2017, I was struggling in my life because of the circumstances beyond my control. And each passing day, I was sinking deeper and deeper. I came to a point where it is called the rock bottom, that you cannot sink, any deeper than this. And it took me, almost 3 years to rebuild my life. And I have done a lot of, scientific experiment to find out, what is the reason and how can a human being change. And it can be, related to negativity. It can be related to addiction. It can be related to how we can become a better version of ourselves. Because, that is the ultimate goal. We want it to be happy, we want it to be healthy, and we want it to be successful. That is, all human beings is looking for. So after, researching, failing many times, I was able to figure out my own journey, and I was able to transform my life upside down. And that led me to write my first book, The Man with Zero Talent. I know the name sounds very weird. Who in this world will write a book called The Man with Zero Talent?
Me.
But I definitely believe that no human being is born in this planet with, specific talents. We acquire these talents over a course of time and we become better in our journey. And same thing with every human being. If you wanted to learn something, there is always a way, but the enthusiasm and the passion has to be there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's answer this question. Looking back at your journey and what helped you. So let's imagine a guy. He feels unsuccessful. He feels unfulfilled, and he doesn't like to be in his own head. He actually hates himself. He doesn't have any feeling of worth. Just his self-esteem is just into the ground. He ran it into the ground. Now, and he wants to escape this kind of feeling. He doesn't want to be in his head, and that's why he disassociates from his life by going to all these bad habits. Could be sleep addiction, junk food addiction, porn addiction, addiction to excessive fapping, addiction to video games, addiction to online games, whatever it is. And when he knows that this is not good for him, he knows that he has to fix his life to enjoy it, not to run away from it. But he doesn't know how to do it, and then all he sees in front of him, all that gives him certainty is this bad habit. He knows that he will get at least some pleasure from it, even though it comes at a cost. Still, that's fine. He will get the pleasure. How would you break someone like that out of that rut?
Roman, it's a very good question, and it's kind of linked to my story at the same time. Like, when I'm going through that phase, I was more inclined to alcohol. Why alcohol? Because, it was kind of an outlet for me. I was dealing with so much of pain. To avoid that pain, I was indulging in alcohol because it was giving me a little bit of pleasure. Because as you know, when we are addicted to anything, it can be alcohol, it can be sex, it can be drugs. what it does, it releases dopamine in our brain. So at least for a time being, maybe, for hour or 2 hour, it releases the chemical, you feel good. And again, maybe after a couple of hours, you go, below the base dopamine and you feel bad about what you have done. But, that, a little bit of hit of dopamine, makes you or keeps you doing it every single day. And that's how you become addicted to it. But that is not the solution. It's not possible to have a positive goal and you are going in a negative direction. It is not possible. You will definitely go towards a positive direction and you will have that motivation every single morning that, I have picked up this goal and I'm going in the direction which is moving me forward. In spite of doing meditation for 5 years, there are days when I don't feel motivated. And Roman, it can happen with you as well. Out of 30 days, you cannot be motivated 30 after 30 days. So first thing is goal. The second point which I wanted to, get to your listeners is improve your self-talk. And why self-talk? Because we all talk very negatively with us. I have anxiety, or I'm not good at maths. Oh, I'm a middle class people, I cannot become rich. When you are talking negatively with us, what happens? That it becomes your reality. Rather than saying yourself, I'm not good at something, say something positive. And how you can improve your, positive talk? By using self-affirmation. Or if you don't like self-affirmation, you can use visualization technique or you can use mantra. When I started my journey, I used to repeat the self-affirmation that, I am the best speaker in the world. In spite of I was nowhere near that. But, if I don't say myself that I am the best in that field, nobody is going to come to me and saying that, okay, you are the best. And if you have heard about, Cristiano Ronaldo, he's the greatest footballer in the world. And he says himself that I am the best, soccer player in the world. And he says that if I don't say it, nobody's going to come to him and say that he's the best. And if he doesn't self-affirm it, it's not possible to play at the highest level. You might think, okay, this is arrogance, this is ego talking about himself. But it is not ego or arrogance. You have to, improve your self-talk in a way which pushes you in the right direction. Because when you are repeating these self-affirmation or mantras or visualization, you are confirming or you're giving your subconscious mind the message that I want something out of the situation. And eventually what happens is your subconscious mind will give you the roots or the techniques to work towards that goal.
Okay, so two things to do, right? You want to set goals, or at least one goal that will keep you up at night and will get you out of bed very, very early in the morning. And the second thing is that you are improving your self-talk. And a simple example, if you're just saying words like courage, strength, willpower, wisdom, leadership, role model, those things, even when you say them or think them, they sound better, they make you feel better than if you're saying something like silence, isolation, loneliness, hatred. There's a different kind of energy about them. And okay, so two great things. We'll get back to them. Now I wanted to ask you about meditation. Would you say that if someone has an urge in the moment, whatever it is, to have some junk food, to drink alcohol, or to watch porn, will meditation be the best answer in that moment to overcome that urge?
Again, Roman, it's a very good question. Meditation is definitely going to help somebody who is going through addiction, through negativity, and through a hard phase in their life. But whether it's easy to do it, I will not say that it's easy to do it, but that might be the starting point for somebody who is struggling with their restless mind.
Hmm.
Now I will go a little bit deeper about, the mind or the brain, so that, your listeners have a little bit clarification about, what mind is, what brain is. So our brain weighs 2 pounds, which is about, our brain weighs 3 pounds, which is about, 2% of the body
Yeah,
weight.
-2.
And yet it consumes, 20 to 25% of the energy. Our brains are lazy, hands down. It can be you, it can be me, or it can be Elon Musk. And the role of the brain is to do two things and two things: to make you survive at any cost, and to reproduce. And to all your listeners who are addicted to porn, that, addiction is not something which you should be ashamed of. It is kind of ingrained in your brain. So have that myth out of the system that, I have something wrong, or I'm doing something, which is not unusual. Every human being, or I will say every man on this planet, is kind of, inclined to sex, and which is natural. But when is the actual problem starts is when you are thinking it all the time. When you wake up, you think about porn, and when you sleep, you are thinking about porn. Then it is an issue. But when you are indulging in sex, 2 or 3 times a week, which is very natural, because if every human beings will say, I will cross my leg, then this human population would not have grown or would not have sustained in this planet. So just to have that idea, and coming back to the brain and the mind, we think, act, and behave because of this brain or the mind. And what is this brain? Brain is the hardware, and mind is the software. But you have to understand that you are the person who is running this mind. Either you are the in charge or the mind is the in charge. Now you have to see, who is the captain of this ship. If you give more power to your mind, he will run your day the way the mind wants to run it. But if you have a control of this mind, you can, run the mind the way you want it to run. And just to give you an example, now you have decided before going to bed that you are going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, when the alarm rings in the morning at 6 o'clock, as we lived in cold countries, your mind is going to tell, oh, see, it feels so good. And you already, slept so late in the night. It's so warm and cozy in the bed. Why don't you snooze it? So what you do is, you snooze the alarm because you are listening to the mind. The mind is the captain here. So after 10 or 15 minutes, the alarm again rings, and the mind again talks to you. Okay, see how good it feels to relax 15 more minutes. You feel again so good, and you have to go at work at 8 o'clock. Still you have enough time. Why don't you snooze the second time? You have already done it once. And what you do is you again do it. And when the third alarm rings at 7 o'clock, then you decide, oh, if I don't wake up now, I'm going to get late for work. Now you see the difference. Now you are acting over your mind. So see the difference between you and the mind. Who is the captain? And you have to always decide, whether mind is the captain or you are the captain. The mind is always going to keep you down so that you don't do anything which is challenging, which is to pursue something, your goals or dreams, because it will be hard. The role of the mind is to conserve your energy, because it is going to take 20 to 25% of the energy whatever you are eating. But when you are able to understand that you are not the mind, then it becomes, easier for you to take control of this, mind or the brain. And I was having a conversation with my son recently, and he was telling me, but I am the mind. But I explained him, yes, you are the mind. But who is in charge of the mind, and that is the differentiation, we have to know it. And once you are able to figure out, okay, you are not the mind and you are not the body, then it makes it easier to take decision which is rational.
Okay, fair enough. And by the way, how old is your son?
My son is 14 years old.
Yeah, well, mine is 13 years old. Okay, yeah.
Very close.
Okay, so you're saying that there is this distinction between the mind that wants to conserve energy and wants no challenges at all, and this other part of your psyche. What would you call that? Like the observer?
You can say the observer, or your real self or your conscious self.
Okay, because what I do usually to explain these things is I show two brains. One is the animal brain. The animal brain is running your biology, it's running your biological urges. It creates those urges to watch pornography or eat that junk food or play video games for too long or to snooze the alarm clock. But if we succumb to this animal brain for too many times, we want to stay consistent with it and we'll lose the ability to say no. Now, but the other brain, I called it brain, hero brain. I believe that we do have this part of our psyche which knows what's best for us, which knows our goals, which has our long-term dreams in mind. And we can shift control to that part of our psyche, the hero brain. And when we operate from the hero brain, our life becomes way easier. I mean, yeah, we still challenge ourselves, but there is no beating ourselves up. We start actually loving ourselves instead of hating ourselves for succumbing to those urges that come from the animal brain. So, I mean, that's a tough question, but let me ask you anyway. What's your recommendation to build that observer, that hero brain, so that it's stronger and that it does the right thing?
Very good question, Roman. It takes time and effort to build that kind of, observer in yourself. When I was going through that phase, I have implemented 3 things, which I still do it so that, I am the captain of this mind and I am the observer. As you know that, we human beings are basically animals. We have to train ourselves so that we can move towards positivity and towards our goal, which is much more important than, wasting our time in doing something useless. So when I was dealing, I have implemented 3 things. First is meditation. And I will explain a little bit of meditation, why meditation, and that meditation is nothing related to religion. Most of the people have the meditation, it is related to Hinduism or Buddhism. I don't want it to change my religion. What is meditation basically? Meditation is a deep, mindful concentration on an object, place, thing, or just on your breath. And why breath? Because breath is always present with you. You don't have to go anywhere to find the breath. So in simple terms, it is a form of exercise tailored specifically for your brain. Now, you can be a scientist, professor, student, worker, musician. You need focus and concentration to accomplish your goals. And what meditation is doing is it is stopping the internal chatter and trying to focus on one thing so that you can progress in life. Now, the myth that it is related to religion, it has nothing to do with religion. Why I do meditation? I don't have the intention to become a monk. My mind was so restless that it is pulled in different directions. Why? Because we go through 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of the thoughts are the same as day before. And if some of your listeners are addicted to porn, they are constantly thinking about porn, 90% of the time. And, when you're thinking about that thing, it is harder for you or for your listeners to think beyond the circumstances. So, what meditation does? It helps to you channel your energy to think in a way or think in a certain way. And you can pick anything, like you can pick an object, like you are going to concentrate for 5 or 7 minutes on that object, or you can close your eyes and, have an image of, relaxing in a beach, concentrate on that thing. Or you can, bring spirituality to your meditation by thinking about, whatever God you pray about, you can bring that into your meditation. But it has still nothing to do with, anything Hinduism or Buddhism. I still, want every listeners to think about as a form of exercise. Like you go to the gym, you work hard, to build your bicep, and after, 3 to 6 months, you're able to, see the changes in your body. The same way, when you are concentrating on an object place thing, you are training your mind to concentrate on one thing rather than, by default, it is going to a negative mode of thinking. So first thing is the meditation. Again, how to do meditation. Like there is a method, you have to sit in a lotus position, those things are old fashioned. Like you can sit in a chair or you can, lie down and you can, think about one thing. But it has to be a place which is quiet, because if you are in a noisy environment, it becomes, harder for anybody to concentrate. And if you are sitting down, in a chair, make sure that your spine is straight, because the communication between the brain and the mind happens through the spinal cord. So first thing is meditation. The second thing, which I will, tell your listeners is about exercise. Like what I implemented is, I started walking, initially for 15-20 minutes, and I was able to do it on a consistent basis for 1.5 years. And after doing it, my body tells me that, I'm ready to jog. So I started, jogging, and which led me to run my first half marathon.
Wow.
And after 3 months, I was able to run my first full marathon.
Whoa!
and you
Our
might have
first marathon runner on the podcast. Welcome.
So as you have learned the phrase that, it goes something like that in 26.2 miles, you can know everything about yourself. And believe me, it's a very true statement, because it is not easy to run continuously for 26.2 miles. You have to dig so deep that you will be able to figure out everything about yourself. And once you are finished the cross line of that, half marathon and full marathon, you will be a completely different person. You will never, ever look back in your life. That is something, if you can do it, or if your listeners can do it, it is going to change your life upside down. You can leave every kind of addiction from that point.
What you said is like there are 3 best ways to overcome that urge in the moment, which are meditation and to build the connection between your hero brain and animal brain, between your mind and your observer. Meditation, exercise, and cold showers. Okay, and now you want to tell everyone about the neurons. Let's do it.
Yes. So I know you are aware of it that our brain has 86 billion to 100 billion neurons in our brain. And what happens, when you are learning something, it can be good or it can be bad. That these neurons make connections with each other, which is called the synaptic connections. So, in simple terms, one neuron is communicating to the other neurons through, chemically or physically, and it is making a synaptic connections, and they are joining it, and as it says that the neurons which connect together or wire together fire together. And what happens, once you are repeating a good behavior as well as bad behavior, these connections become stronger and stronger, and it becomes a long chain. And once you have repeated this behavior so many times that it forms a myelin sheet over this chain, that you can do it without even thinking. Now you can take, any sportsman, to give the example, like any basketball player. They can do the basket without even thinking, because they have practiced it so many times that they have formed a myelin sheet over this, a long chain. And that's how you become, great in any sports. And that's how you learn anything. And to, give a simple example, like, when you start driving a car, you don't know how to drive it, but, you were so consciously present. You were looking in the front mirror, you were looking at the rear mirror, you were concentrating, you were making these connections between one neuron to the other neuron. And what happens in a period of, 3 months, you were able to drive it, in a decent way, so that you are able to get your driving license. And after a couple of years, what happens? That you can reverse your car from your garage without even, seeing at the rear mirror, or you can, close your eyes and you can, take your car out from your garage, because you have practiced it so many times. So, to any of the youngsters or any human being, who is listening to your, podcast, I will say that it takes practice. And this is how we start learning it. Our brain is very malleable. And the process of learning is the same, whether it's a good habit, whether it's a bad habit. We have to make this connection slowly and steadily, so that you can improve, in any field. Rather than saying, I'm not good at maths, or I have anxiety, work on your math skills, and you will see that, slowly and eventually you are getting better at it. I am the person who has written The Man with Zero Talent, because I don't think that I have any specific talent. But I put my efforts, time, and energy to learn something. And once I devote my time, energy, focus, I'm learning. And once I, in a course of period, from 3 to 5 years, you become, so proficient that you become the top 5% in that field. Same thing happened to me, same thing happened to Roman. And I can say you that, because he has devoted his time, and eventually he has become, so better at, explaining the things he wanted to explain, that he's a master in that field. So again, it takes time and energy. And once you have that knowledge that how your brain is working, it becomes so much easier, because knowledge is power. When I was growing up, I did not have this knowledge. What is happening inside my brain, we don't know anything of this. Nowadays, there is internet, there is information.
There is chat.
And whatever I'm saying, you can, find in different, literature, and, you can correlate whether what I'm saying is right or wrong. And you can have your own judgment.
Yes. And by the way, Gaurav here in the chat, he says, this is actually muscle memory. So Would you say that when you build a habit, let's say with sports,
Oh,
that
yes, definitely. Gaurav is absolutely right because our mind is, kind of works as a muscle. It's not a muscle, but it works as a muscle. The way you train it, your biceps, the way you're training your mind. And the more you train it, it will retain that muscle memory. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing every single day. It will retain it and it will help you in the long run.
yeah, and he's adding slowly, it all becomes memory, and we needn't to focus. We just automatically do it as a habit. Exactly. That's what happens to people who have porn addiction. They develop this habit, and the point is, you have to build the new habit in place of the old one, not just ditch
Yes.
the old one, but replace it. And some of the things that Sanjib was talking about, they're amazing. Exercise, meditation, taking walks, setting a goal and working on the goal, improving your self-talk, doing things like visualizations. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, before I ask you, actually, let's play a quick game, okay, as a break.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a random question that makes no sense at all. The only goal is for you to answer this question as funny as possible. Okay?
Okay. Let's play it.
Okay, why did they revoke Donald Trump's driver's license?
I will say it's because there was something wrong what he was doing against the norm.
Okay, you're supposed to give a funny answer.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe I did not
Okay.
get your humor, but that's the point.
Okay.
You want to do another try?
Yes, let me try it. I don't know whether I will be successful or not, but let's do it one more time. A
Yes.
different question.
Okay, different question. Why can't Samsung beat Apple in phones?
Because Apple have good minds. To be short and precise, Apple have good minds and Samsung does not have good minds. That
Okay.
differentiates between two companies. I don't know
Okay.
whether that is funny or not, but
Okay, and now I will answer my own question. So I will say, because to get better than Apple, Samsung would have to be something like Mango. Okay. And actual Gorov is giving a good answer, a funny answer to the Donald Trump question. He says it's because he drives left instead of right, and vice versa, And he's answering to the Apple question. He says Samsung contains 6 letters and Apple just 5. Okay.
That's better, definitely better than my explanation.
Now, I have quite a few questions, but let me ask you this. You have a specific type of meditation that you do. Can you talk about this and how it's helpful?
Roman, I don't have a specific type of meditation. When I started learning it, I'm a self-taught meditator, but I have invented, or you can say, I have implemented a way in my application which enhances the meditation everybody does. And what I have implemented is vibrational frequency. As you are aware that, everything has a vibrational frequency, and Dr. David Hawkins implemented a scale of measuring energy in the form of frequency. If we are vibrating, from 0 to 200 hertz, you are in the, feeling of anger, fear, jealousy. But when you are vibrating from a frequency of 400 to 1000 hertz, you are in a place of, happiness, joy, enlightenment. And when you are vibrating in higher frequency,
You're God.
get, pardon?
You're God.
You are not God. You are trying, or you are, getting information, at a higher frequency, or you will interact with people who has, higher frequency of mind. Because when you are, in a lower frequency, you are kind of engraved in that kind of situation. You interact with the people who have that same kind of frequency. So what we have implemented in this app is we are giving an audio frequency from 396 hertz to 963 hertz, which ranges from root chakra to the crown chakra, and the frequencies are coming as an audio frequency. And we are giving a frequency through the palm of the hand. The user will keep the phone in their palm, and the frequency from 100 to 200 hertz is going from the palm of the hand to the brain. And what we are saying that it will enhance the meditation what you are doing. Because there are so many people who are not able to concentrate and focus on one thing without any help from external environment. So through this app, who have difficulty concentrating, they can take this app, use this application, keep the phone in the palm of the hand, and benefit and enjoy the benefits of vibrational frequency, which will increase their focus and concentration.
Okay, what's the name of the app?
Okay, the name of the app is called Luvo, Luvo, and it's a free application. Anybody can download it from Google or App Play Store. There's no subscription fee. It's completely free. And I will say it's not a meditation app. We have taken a holistic approach in this application. Why is it so? Because meditation is just a part of this application. We have implemented exercise. The app is going to count the number of steps you are taking it. If you have a smartwatch, like if you have Fitbit or Garmin or Google Fit, you can connect your smartwatch to the application. So what will happen, all the data from your smartwatch is going to come to this application, and you can see all the steps count you are taking it, how much calories you are burning it, how much distance you have traveled. So again, that is a good way of connecting your smartwatch to the app. The third thing which we have implemented is water intake. As you can see that Roman is, keeping himself hydrated, which is, definitely needed when we are living in cold countries, because water constitutes 70% of our body as well as brain. And when we are dehydrated, it leads to depression and anxiety. So why don't, rehydrate ourselves with water? And this app is going to remind you in 2 or 3 hours that you have to, drink water. And the fourth thing which we have implemented is sleep analysis. Like, we have so much difficulty sleeping, or, 70% of the world population, have difficulty, falling asleep. So this application is going to, show you, how much time you are awake, how much time you are in deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep. And you can get, again, all the data from your smartwatch at the same time, because, smartwatch also can, have the sleep data, and, you can bring all those data to this watch, and you can have everything in one platform. And why we have taken a holistic approach in this application, because, meditation only is not going to change your life, and exercise only is not going to, benefit you. You have to, integrate everything into your life so that you can move forward. And gratitude is one of the things we have implemented, that you can, write down what you are grateful for today. Because there are so many good things which we should be grateful for in our life, but we always think about the negative things which is happening in our life. Like, you know, I wake up today morning, which is definitely better than if I would have a heart attack. I'm able to,
Yeah.
speak in this podcast with Roman, and I'm able to have a conversation with his audience, which is again a good thing. I'm able to transfer the information or the knowledge which I've gained from all the years to the listeners, which is again a beautiful thing. So rather than seeing the negative thing, I'm seeing the positive thing, what I'm grateful for. I have a suit and a tie, it means, I definitely have some money. You know, means, there are so many people who don't have enough food to eat. So I should be grateful about things which I have rather than thinking about things which I don't have. Because there are, so many things which is not going right at the same time in every human being's life. And we have to always see the positive side rather than the negative side. And we have started a live meditation in our app. So if somebody wanted to have an actual live session, like we are having a live conversation with Roman and his audience, people can have live meditation, live yoga. We have talks about healthy eating, gratitude, meditation, music. So we have implemented a lot of things in this app. And we have a page about blogs. We try to give information and knowledge through this application at the same time, and everything is free. And one more advantage if you download this app is you can get a link of my book, and you can read the book free of cost. You don't have to buy from Amazon or any other platform. It's free of cost at the same time. So it's up to you if you wanted to invest some of your time in downloading this app or reading my book. It is definitely going to give you the information, because what I wanted to give to any human being is, I have wasted 3 years learning about all these things, but you can have all this information in one book, and you can improve your life in 6 to 8 weeks, which is a very short time. And you can implement what you think is beneficial to your life, and you can leave the things which is not useful. You cannot get all the information, or you may not like all the information which is in the book, but there is definitely so much information which you will like.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing this. So guys, just as Sanjib said, you can avoid all those mistakes. You can improve your life. You can transform your life in a few weeks, only if you take action. You're not sitting there making your own mistakes. You're not learning just by your own experience. You're becoming smarter than an average person. And instead, you're going to check out the Luvo app and also get that book from Sanjib. So make sure that when you stop listening to the podcast, when you're done, go and check out, download the app, get the book, and see your life transforming. I have to ask you this, because I'm so jealous actually, because I would love to run a marathon. And truth be told, I started to do that. I started to run. My record was 16 kilometers at one point, which is about 10 miles, right? And I loved it. I love the serotonin that I was getting after the run. I love that runner's high. But my health took a hit. I think I just overdid it. Like I have this tendency to overdo stuff, and that was one of the things. And I stopped running. And now, like, the only running that I do is high intensity interval training. So where I would run for like 30 seconds to 1 minute, and then I would stop, and then I'd do it again, let's say for 4 to 5 cycles. Or 4 to 8 cycles. Now, how do you develop this kind of psychological resilience to run a marathon. That's a humongous task, and I mean, I honor you for this.
So, Roman, again, the other person always think that it is a humongous task, but when you break down into small, chunks, it becomes easier. And I have written a chapter in my book called Kaizen, which is small, consistent changes over a period of time. And it has been used in Japanese culture, and now it has been implemented in personal development. Rather than having a big chunk that, oh, I wanted to run a marathon, you can take a small chunk, like I wanted to run just 1 mile in 15 days or 30 days, and just go run 1 mile. And after doing that, take the second goal of I wanted to do a 5K. Go and run the 5K. And slowly, again, it's kind of building the muscle, because it's all about training the mind. When the mind is convinced, the body will follow it. Once the mind knows that you are going to push through that pain, the body is very secondary, because the mind is convinced that you are going to do it in spite of that pain. And some of my friends ask, why do I jog, why do I run? I don't jog because it gives me pleasure. I jog so that I can handle pain in my life. It gives me that sense of intensity that if I can run, I'm able to handle that pain, and I was able to handle the pain which life gives at the same time. Because if you think about life, life is pain and suffering,
And then you die.
and in spite of that pain and suffering, you have to find a meaning in your life. And until and unless you are able to find that meaning, you will be lost forever. And you can see, so many, great, people who were lost in their life because they were not able to find the actual meaning. Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, Whitney Houston, they were all great. They have accomplished so much, but still they were, dissatisfied with their life. And to overcome, that's dissatisfaction, they indulge in, alcohol or, porn or those kind of things. So it doesn't mean that, you are successful. You have overcome the pain and suffering which is going in your life. You have to still find a meaning why I am waking up every single day. Until and unless you are able to find that meaning, in spite of being successful, you will be dissatisfied. Because, connecting to my story, I was, rich and successful, but I was still dissatisfied. And this dissatisfaction was, making my life a misery. Because, if money was the only concern, I can, buy any kind of happiness, but that is not the case. So to find that, the inner, dissatisfaction, I have to find, why I am waking up, or what is the meaning in my life. And how do you find a meaning in your life? You cannot find meaning when everything is going fine in your life, which is very hard. If I say, Roman, if everything is going good in your life, or if I ask God, if everything is going fine in your life, can you find meaning? No, you can find meaning only when you are struggling, when there is no reason to wake up. Then you start, finding, okay, what is the real meaning in my life? And when you start digging deep into your life, you will definitely find a meaning. Okay, this is what I'm waking up, and this is the reason I wanted to wake up every single day of my life. And what reason I do, every single day, or why I wake up every single day is, I wanted to push myself to the edge, to learn and grow. and to help others at the same time. Because I was not born talented. I have the audacity to tell that I did not have the self-worth. I did not feel good in my skin. I used to feel, oh, I don't have hairs, my skin color is black. That self-esteem was low. But once I'm able to find myself, I'm comfortable in my own skin. Doesn't matter whatever other people say to me. It's the true feeling which you are able to find at some point in your life, then it changes your life completely.
Yeah, that begs the question. Let's say I am a teenager. I'm 14, like your son, right? And all I can think of is what other people think of me. Is that possible for someone who is 14 to overcome that?
When you are young, or when I was young, I will relate to my story. When I was young, or when anybody is young, you do two things. Either you do the things which your friends are doing it, or you do the things which your parents or your friends are telling you to do it.
Right.
Because you don't know exactly what you wanted to do it. Either you are following somebody or you are taking the instructions. And that's what I was doing it. I don't know what I wanted to do in my life. I was just following somebody else's passion, or I wanted to be, in their community. Like we have a tribe. Like, I have a tribe with my friends. I have a tribe with my family, relatives. I have a tribe with, my cohort. So I wanted to be in that tribe, even in spite of they are doing wrong things, I wanted to be included in that group. So it becomes harder for 14-year-old to get out of this tribe, whatever the friend circle he is, in spite of he doesn't want to indulge in that, but he doesn't want to be excluded from that, group. So he will do the things what his tribe is telling him to do. And it becomes, harder when you are young, and it takes time, Roman, to figure out, what one actually wants. And to explain it a little bit more deeply, when you are 14 or 16, you are going through puberty. It means you are having the biological changes which is happening inside your body. Like different, hormones are releasing in your body. And by the time you reach 20, men or boys are more inclined to anger and sex, and women are more inclined to depression or anxiety. And these changes are biological. And that is the reason, most men try to indulge, mostly in, porn or addiction, because it started from around 16 and it goes on till 25. And if we are not able to break from that habit, it becomes, harder when they reach 35, because, again, it's a muscle memory. You have, learned it so many times that you have to again unlearn what you have learned in this 20 years and have to relearn something new. And that is the reason, learning something new helps anybody to relearn the old habits, because, you are disconnecting the chain which you have made it, and you are making a different connection in your brain, and you are giving focus and energy to this new chain. And what happens eventually, the old neuron or the neural pathway which has formed, it will start de-alienating, and it will make it smaller and smaller. So it definitely takes time, but it is definitely possible. And definitely, I can say that you have to always see, what you wanted in your life, in spite of things which is not going right in your life, in spite of, biologically you are inclined to more, addiction to sex and porn. You have to still, give your energy and focus to what you ultimately want in your life. Because anything you start giving energy and focus, it is going to get, bigger and bigger in your life. It's all about energy. If you, break down to the smallest particle, and then everything is energy and matter. And whatever you are giving energy grows.
Okay. By the way, you mentioned something, and I wanted to go deeper into this because actually, a friend, John, he asked this question, and maybe you could give your input. Why? Okay, let's say, why men struggle with porn way more than women? Why is pornography not as addictive to women as it is for men?
Again, the simple answer, if I wanted to give is because, we are biologically inclined to, sex and anger being in men, and women are more inclined to anger and anxiety. And, to explain it a little bit much better, it's because it's a natural system, which is kind of, or you can say it's a default mechanism which is there in your brain. If you say that, I'm not going to indulge in sex, this human population would have extinct a long time back ago. That instinct is going to be always there, engraved in your brain. Doesn't matter you like it or you don't like it. The thing is, if you start giving more energy to it every single day, then it gets bigger and bigger like any other thing. I'm not telling any of your listeners to suppress it, but don't give too much energy every single day to build that habit. Try to focus on something else at the same time, so that it stays where it has to be there, and be the captain of this ship rather than be a slave to this mind, because the slave of this mind is going to tell you to repeat this behavior over and over again, because it is going to give you pleasure. Pleasure releases a hormone called dopamine. You will feel good, and you want to repeat the same behavior again and again.
Okay. I also have this question. Did you have a porn conversation with your son?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so what happens? Let's say one day you walk in his room and you see that he's watching porn. What will you tell him?
I will not say him anything right now.
Okay.
And I do have explanation, because I will take back to my own life what I was doing at the age of 14 and 16. I was doing the same thing. Now, if somebody would have come to me, oh, this is bad, will I listen to that person? No. Why no? Because my mind is not mature enough to listen to those kind of things. It is giving me pleasure. I wanted to indulge in more and more. It's kind of a new toy to me. Like when you get a new Xbox or you buy a new car, you wanted to indulge more and more. And it's hard for a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old to understand, all the concept. I will let him do what he is doing, let him fail a couple of times, and have a conversation when he's a little bit more mature. He's still not going to listen to me, because he thinks that this is better than anything else, because I have to again take myself back to my life. Whether I was doing it, yes, I was doing it. Whether I was indulging in sex, yes. If somebody would have told me, I would not have listened, because again, it's all about pleasure and pain. And once he comes to a point when he will realize that it is spoiling his life, because definitely if somebody is 18 or 20, he will definitely realize that I'm spending 2 or 3 hours every day in porn, which is not, efficient in my life, or I may not able to progress in my life. Once he has that realization, then it becomes easier to change. You cannot force anybody to change. You can give your information and input that this might be beneficial to you, and let them course correct their own path and become better in your own life.
Okay. To me, this sounds a little bit controversial. So let me read, let's say, an account from someone. That's what he wrote. He says, "Hey Roman, hope you're well. My name is X. I'm from South Africa and I'm 18 years old. I'm currently battling to quit this addiction every time I make some progress, but somehow I always end up right where I started. I've tried everything, but I can't. I know I'm too young and wasting my potential. I really want to quit. Hope you can assist me with some techniques you applied to overcome it. Yours sincerely." So, isn't it better to prevent people developing an addiction?
Okay, first thing I wanted to tell here, in this, conversation which you have read, he realizes that, there is something which he has to course correct, which is the first best thing. Because until and unless you have the realization that there is nothing wrong, you cannot change something. So in this scenario, he knows that he has to change. He has come to a point of realization that it is wasting so much of energy in doing the things which he doesn't want to do. Then it makes it easier to give him the information what is needed, and give him the tools and techniques to implement in his life so that he can get better. And definitely, in this case, we are going to tell him, okay, these are the tools and techniques which you needed it. It might be hard, initially, and it is hard for every human being to change from the default mode to the mode where you wanted it, but it is definitely possible. And even if you are able to implement, that if you are spending now 2 or 3 hours, if you are able to cut down your time to half an hour, definitely it is much better. You are going in the right direction rather than, indulging more and more.
Okay, I understand. So let's just agree to disagree on this one, because yes, I do believe that prevention is way more important and effective compared to fixing things when the person wants to fix them. Because sometimes people will reach out to me and they tell me I'm in my 60s and I wasted half of my life and I have this terrible regrets that are killing me. And I think to myself, I would rather prevented that porn addiction in the first place so that the person would never have those regrets. Okay. But I love your approach. I'm just what I'm saying probably is that with some things I totally agree. But with things that could become dangerous addictions like drugs or alcohol, porn, I would rather prevent. All right, anyway. Tell me about a challenge, something that you had in your life and you thought you'd never overcome it. Never. It was so huge, but then you did.
I think the biggest challenge means, if I see my life from 16 years till now, I failed so many times in my life. Every 5 years I failed miserably, and every 10 years I have to reinvent myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest failure or the biggest challenge I faced in 2017, which I have to completely uproot my thinking from whatever I have thought for 37 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to start, building myself from the scratch. That was the biggest challenge. Why challenge? Because, I have to, leave what I have learned. I have to relearn everything from the scratch. And again, it's all about, making new connections in the brain. What I believe is it takes 60 to 90 days to build a new habit. And you have to constantly work on to build that habit on a consistent basis, because we are kind of, like the way you train a horse, you have to train your mind the same way. You have to keep it on track. Once you start losing, or once you start, giving lenient to your mind, it will start occupying you all over again. So my life is always about, who is in charge of this mind. I don't want myself to go again in that state of negativity or depression. So every single day I made effort so that I don't go in that negative mode again. So it takes me, meditation, exercise, cold showers, reading. Reading is again a form of, which changes my state of mind. It gives me a perspective about life, how other people think about life and how they approach life. Because I can be wrong at so many things at the same time. Like, I may have the perception about life which I think is right, but maybe I'm wrong when I'm speaking with 10 different people. And when you are reading, you have that wider horizons that, oh, this people is thinking in a different way. Maybe, let me think about, that way, and think maybe he's right at the same time. And maybe I have to, change my perception about that topic at the same time. Like, we are having a discussion about, uh, porn, and you say that, that maybe we do both disagree. And maybe, eventually at some point, I have to think about prevention might be better than, what is happening. So it's all comes when you have a conversation with a different human being, when you are reading, when you are going through different journal, and, finding scientific explanation, what is happening. Because until and unless you know about the scientific explanation, you cannot explain someone, what is actually happening, in this brain, because we act, behave, and think how our brain is working. So it's brain is the most complicated thing in the whole universe. We know very little about this brain. We have, done significant improvement in the last 1 or 2 decades, but still, the information is so less. So, my perspective is to find, how I can learn more about, how this brain works, and how I can, connect with our habits, and, why do we behave the way we behave. And some of the things are so ingrained in this brain that it becomes, harder to overcome it. So again, it's all about a challenge, and I try to work every single day on myself to improve myself. I do have habits, patterns to take me towards, the path where I wanted to go.
Okay, thank you so much for your wisdom. One last question, and I will let you go. So, please mention your app once again, and where people can find more information about you or the app.
So the name of the app is Luvo, Luvo. They can download it from Google or App Play Store. It's free of cost. There's no subscription. And you can download the free book, once you downloaded the app. But you can buy my book in Amazon.com, and it is available in different platforms at the same time. I have a Facebook page, The Man with Zero Talent. You can communicate with me through that Facebook. I have a website, www.zest2live.com. I have a YouTube channel called Luvo Productions. You can listen to the music which I make. I always make inspirational music because my intention is to inspire people. and put them in the right trajectory. And you can Google with my name also, and you can find a lot of information with my name, which is Sanjib, Sanjib, and my last name is Nandi, Nandr. So this is all about me. It's over to you, Roman.
All right. Once again, thank you so much for letting me milk you for 90 minutes. And with that said, I'll be excited to have you on one more time, because we tapped just like 0.0001% of your wisdom today.
Oh yes, there is a lot of things, which we can definitely talk about. And I like to talk about pain and suffering, because there is so much pain and suffering in life, and sometimes we get engulfed in that pain and suffering that we are not able to find the true meaning in our life. And I have used a book, which I use as a Bible, and I will definitely suggest your listeners to, read that book. The name of the book is The Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I don't know whether you have heard about this or read. I have used that as a Bible. It's a small book, but it has so much information. And if you read it over and over again, you will have the information and insight about, in pain and suffering, how can you make yourself better?
That's right. So read Man's Search for Meaning to reprogram your mind and feel good despite the pain. This is important. Yes. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Roman.